That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about Shelby Oaks, the directorial debut of Chris Stuckmann, which premiered at the 2024 Fantasia International Film Festival. Neon is releasing it theatrically on October 24th, 2025, just in time for Halloween.
If you're watching a film review on YouTube, you know who Chris Stuckmann is.
Yeah.
What is Shelby Oaks about? A woman's desperate search for her long-lost sister falls into obsession upon realizing that the imaginary demon from their childhood may have been real.
Demons!
What is your pull quote?
Narrative beats and found footage frills compromise the character development which could have made Shelby Oaks truly enjoyable. But there's an undeniable dread cresting on a horrific high in the third act. Well worth waiting for.
Mine. Shelby Oaks has flashes of brilliance, but its story falters while trying to be two films at once. I really wanted to like this movie.
I want to like everything that I see. I don't go into anything wanting to dislike it.
And there are aspects of it that do work well for me.
I agree, and I actually might like it a little bit more than you, but yeah.
I think you do. So to me, it does feel like two different movies. The first 15 minutes before we get the title sequence is like a found footage film a la Lake Mungo or Session 9.
Blair Witch Project. I mean, and it starts out with the tiniest print possible. Like in June of 2008, I'm like, I have great vision, and I was...
So I was worried because I was not feeling that.
Yeah, I agree, and I probably in the minority on that aspect. But it felt really dated and derivative, and I didn't need it. And I felt like there was a much more interesting way to tell that exposition.
But we transitioned to something that feels more like Rosemary's Baby in the Woods.
Rosemary's Baby meets Deliverance, yes.
And that I found interesting.
I mean, I love a creepy incubus, and it gets me. Do you remember that film? It's a B movie for sure, but it stars John Cassavetes, and I actually love the poster art for it. It's called The Incubus, and it's got that skin-looking creature on there, and it's about that creature that's assaulting sexually women so terribly that it's rending them limb from limb. Do you remember that movie?
No.
Oh, it's pretty vicious, yeah.
And I was looking at reviews, and it seems like people feel like the beginning is the strong part and the ending is weak, but I prefer the ending.
The third act, I think, again, it's really rare for a film I'm kind of checked out at in the first 15 minutes, but there are elements. I love the look of the film once we get past the found footage, and by the end, the last 20 minutes, I was fully hooked.
The story is about this young lady named Riley. She's a YouTuber.
Played by Sarah Durn.
She has a show called Paranormal Paranoids, and it's her and 3 other people. So the first 15 minutes, we're told that they have this YouTube channel where they explore sort of haunted places in their area in Ohio. And Shelby Oaks is a town in their county.
A ghost town.
So one day, they all go missing, the 4. And of course, everyone thinks it's a hoax just to get more attention. But a week into the search, which I thought all of that felt real awkward, like the timing. But 3 of the people are found dead. But Riley, the main person, is just missing. And that's the first 15 minutes of the film. But then when we cut to what looks like your standard narrative Blumhouse horror film, then we see that Riley's sister Mia,
played by Camille Sullivan, who we know from the film Hunter x Hunter.
Okay.
With Devon Sawa.
12 years later, she's still looking for her sister. And I wrote down, to the handful of people who know I care about them, if y'all go missing, it has been 12 years, just know that I haven't looked for you in 11 years, 52 weeks. I'm not doing all that. 12 years? This is the weak part of the film because I think we needed more understanding of the sister's relationship and why she never let go, but we'll get to that. So the middle part of the film is that sister Mia, one day some man comes to her door. While
she's being interviewed on a documentary about Riley.
So still going on about this missing girl. Someone comes to the door, and it's this man, and he shoots and kills himself.
Well, first he says, "She's released me."
So, of course, they contact the authorities, and as the authorities are arriving, Mia sees that this man has a cassette in his hand. So she takes it.
That says Shelby Oaks.
And doesn't tell the police. And thankfully, she lives in a large enough house that she can go hide in some room and watch a murder tape, and her husband doesn't know what she's watching. Mm-hmm. It's loud, she's screaming, but he never checks on her.
Played by Brandon Sexton III.
And the tape basically shows the day that the three were killed, and that the man who shot himself at Mia's front door is the person responsible.
Yes.
And she explains that now that she's seen it, she doesn't want to give it to the police because they'll know who the killer is and that he's dead, and they're going to stop investigating. Like, how long do you expect police to look for this lady?
I don't know. But, you know, the other thing is, like, in the found footage segments, we get Michael Beach, who seems like a detective who'd be more than willing to help.
But the gag is, Riley is alive. She's been missing for 12 years because an incubus, Taurian, incubus of the North.
Is which I thought of Brooklyn Heights.
Yeah, actually.
The Queen of the North?
Is looking to have a woman bear his spawn. So like Rosemary's Baby.
Yes.
And so that's what Riley's been up to. She's been locked in this cabin in the woods, in the basement, trying to conceive this child. And we see a burial site that has like 4 or 5 tombstones. So clearly she hasn't been successful. But there is a new baby that seems to be the one. So Mia, the sister, is led to this cabin in the woods. And then we realize that the intention of this incubus was, he's always had his eye on these 2 sisters.
Yes.
And it seems like he knew that one would bear the child and then one would have to raise it.
Yes.
Because the familiar trope is that in these films where the woman gives birth to Satan's spawn, they want to kill it. So of course you have to get rid of the mother, but someone has to raise the baby.
There's an abortion drama, Masters of Horror episode John Carpenter did called Pro-Life, where the woman's trying to abort the baby and Satan stops her at the clinic.
So of course in the end, the mother, the missing Riley, the mother, is killed and Mia is touched by the devil. Mm-hmm. And so it's clear that she will now raise this baby.
Yeah, these girls are a package deal.
What frustrated me was, you know, it makes sense that the writer-director, who is one of the biggest YouTube film critics ever, mm-hmm. would incorporate YouTube into the film. But I think it takes away from the stronger story, because at first I'm thinking, oh, so Riley, who's doing this YouTube show about paranormal activity, that maybe this is what brought on this incubus. But that's not the case. This incubus has been stalking her since she was a little girl. So then you realize that all of the weird things that she and her friends experienced while they were making the YouTube videos are because there is a demon following her. Mm-hmm. So it's not completely unrelated, but I think it takes away from the time we could have spent understanding the siblings' relationship.
Yeah, I think you're wasting precious screen time, especially since we don't care about any of the other 3 people that are slaughtered.
Baby, they don't give those other 3 people a minute. And I don't even think they say their names and that's it.
And it just feels really dated, and it feels like something had like Kill Your Darlings. Like, just get rid of all that, even though it's a cute throwback to the filmmaker's own, legacy. But
my very first note is Mia is so annoying. And I think after finishing the film, it's because there's no context as to why the sister won't let go.
Right. I think a much stronger opening would have been if Mia, and the Mia Farrow reference is also creepy because Mia Farrow ended up taking care of a bunch of kids that were adopted as well.
Oh, sure.
But so there's some layers to those references. But I think a much stronger opening, because Brandon Sexton III has nothing to do. We've seen him in many things. Pecker, just rewatched most recently. But it's clear we're fed some details that they've been trying to have children, and she has been unsuccessful. But I think it would have been much more interesting had we realized that these sisters have more of a psychic connection, and they don't really know perhaps why, because as children they were selected by this incubus. But if she had opened with a recent miscarriage, and then that man shows up and shoots himself in the head on her porch, I think that would have made for a much more action-packed beginning, and then we can unravel this mystery, because I feel it cuts too many corners with Mia running around to all these places in the middle of the night that don't make any sense without any kind of immediacy. Her sister's been gone for 12 years. some of the choices she makes just seem inane.
I agree. We also learned that she and her husband haven't had a child because she says she's been too preoccupied trying to find her sister, which just sounds crazy. Like, I feel like we needed a lot more of how this has affected her.
Yes.
A better understanding of maybe Mia having visions, because we also learn towards the end of the film, she confides in her husband that when I was younger, there was a particularly bad night for my sister Riley, where she was having these night terrors, and I went to go sleep in her bed to hopefully calm her down. And I heard tapping on the window, and I saw that incubus. That was creepy.
It was creepy. It could have had that moment where Barbara Hershey sees the demon in Insidious.
Yes.
But it doesn't quite. Still, I don't mind that. Where there's some interesting bits of exposition there, but I think that all could have come a lot sooner, in a more interesting way, perhaps.
Okay. So the opening 15 minutes with this found footage thing, it's set in 2008, so of course it feels dated because they're trying to stay true to the time. And I couldn't help but think of the movie Strange Harvest.
Yes,
because I think that film does an excellent job doing the same thing. In particular, in Strange Harvest, the interviews with people who knew the victims, the detectives involved, those felt much more authentic. While, of course, I like Michael Beach, Keith David's also in the film, but he's in the more narrative part of the story.
Yes.
I think the interviews were a little crunchy.
Yeah.
I think the news footage that we see in the 2008 segment in the beginning and also in the modern day segment, those don't feel authentic either.
The news footage feels fake. It feels inauthentic.
So that's why I think that portion of the film, like what it's trying to do with all that, doesn't work.
I agree. But then there are elements, I love the cinematography, once we get past the found footage, again, by Andrew Scott Baird. There are moments with this abandoned correctional facility that was giving me Lucio Fulci, like where the portal to hell is about to be opened.
Yeah, and I think to be effective with creeping people out, there either needs to be a subtle amount versus going crazy and showing too much. And I think this film shows a little bit more.
But does that part well?
But it works really well. There are a lot of shots where we see the
they're called hellhounds.
Hellhounds.
With their
we see
glowing
the
eyes.
incubus. You see their glowing eyes.
You see the first time
that are really creepy.
The first time you see the hellhound, I think, is after Mia watches the video that she has given the police, which I also thought was crazy. Because why not have a partner in crime that's helpful? With the devil's design, the incubus is designed to get her to where her sister and child are. Makes no sense. Oh, the first time we see the hellhound, though, it's the tape goes off and you see the reflection in the television set, which is kind of like one of my favorite moments from original Amityville Horror, when you see the eyes out the window.
Yeah. So the man who shoots himself at Mia's door towards the beginning, we find out that he's this guy, because the whole Shelby Oaks thing is that the one scene we get with Keith David, he's explaining that he used to be the warden of the prison in Shelby Oaks, but once that guy showed up, the prison literally deteriorated. And clearly Keith David is shaken, like even talking about this guy scares him. So Mia hypothesizes that once that man was touched by the incubus and became, the shepherd for this devil, that he was causing that rotting. I feel like we could have spent a lot more time with that.
Yes.
And understanding how this town, Shelby Oaks, had this darkness fall on it.
And why exactly Riley?
And then we learned that Riley's nightmares ended when she was 12. And that's because that's when that man was incarcerated. And he was there for 5 years. And then once that person left, that's when Riley went missing. So then I'm like, wait, so Riley is 18 years old? That lady looks a lot older than 18 to be. I think the actor is actually 30, but she looked like a mature woman.
Yes.
Like if you told me she was in her 40s, I would have believed you. So I think that also threw me off.
Yeah, it's just like, as they say, the devil's in the details. And some of these details are lacking, because another plot point to develop exposition that I thought was really lazy, could have been creepy, but it just doesn't make sense, is, okay, in the third act, right, Mia follows this hellhound to this dilapidated house that the police never checked out in Shelby Oaks in the ghost town, where there's this missing white girl that everybody's going crazy over for 12 years. She finds Robin Bartlett, who is
Norma, this creepy old lady.
Who's a great character actress, and it's kind of a role similar in this film she did called H in 2014, where she plays a woman obsessed with dolls because she can't have her own babies. It's really creepy. But
what's that actor's name?
Robin Bartlett.
Okay, she was my favorite part of this film.
Yes, again, that's when it really kind of comes to life, I think, in those moments. But
Mia happens upon this house in the woods where Norma is. Norma invites her inside, and Mia's crazy ass goes in there. Again, I agree, Mia needed an accomplice, because the fact that she just goes to the prison, this abandoned prison in the middle of the night by herself.
Where there's an experience that if anybody had, you would not go anywhere else.
Ever again. Then you follow these hellhounds to this house. And this lady looks like the Penguin, because you only really see her outline. She would have scared me to run the opposite direction. But Mia walks in that house.
And it looks like there's black mold everywhere.
Well, it looks like because Keith David shows her pictures of this was my prison before that man showed up, and this was my prison when he left. And it looks like the house this creepy old lady's in. But at a point, Mia finds a photo album.
Just lying there. Just in the photo. Who developed these photos of this missing girl? Where did the devil get these photos developed? But anyway, what the photo shows us that it seems as if Riley had a lot of pregnancies, a lot of miscarriages, and that's what explains all of these. The symbol that we see of the incubus kind of denotes that there are these infants buried there. So however many have happened, this one's the charm. And I think it would have been much more interesting, again, if in the beginning we had learned that Mia had all these miscarriages, and we saw how that sister kind of honored those, so that immediately when we see the visual twinning of her sister's miscarriages, we would automatically get that, and it would be just as creepy without us asking all these questions about where these pictures came from and why they are putting them in this photo album for who to see.
Yeah, I thought the photo album was a clunky way to have Mia understand what happened, like that her sister is being used as a birthing machine. But before we even get to the photo album, we see that Mia in her house is rummaging through Riley's things, and she finds this demonology book. Mm-hmm. And again, it's like, oh, in these kind of films, there's always a book that explains everything. And so she's flipping through the book, and it literally shows Terry and Incubus of the North. It shows the Hellhounds. Mm-hmm. So I think those two elements, that demonology book and the photo album, because they spent all this damn time in 2008 with the found footage stuff, I feel like they could have used that instead, because the film's also not that long.
I know. It's just like there's a much more elegant way to get those details across that aren't distracting. I mean, I would have loved if that book was autographed by Courtney Love, for instance.
Okay. The craziest part of the story is at this house with creepy-ass Norma, Mia witnesses, first of all, she finds her sister in the basement tied up. She clearly understands that like a demon has been impregnating my sister. We see Norma in the attic, like Mia sees her.
Doing and out in Hereditary, basically.
Doing like spells and fantastical things are happening, and we see the reflection of the demon. And so does Mia. Then we flash forward a little bit, and now Riley is back home with Mia. Riley and the baby. The police have come and rescued them. Which was the plan of the devil, is to save the baby, right?
Yes. So Riley the blonde, whose hair is now soot black.
On the first day, this took me all the way out. Yeah. On the first day, Riley and her baby are back at her sister's house. The first day. After Mia witnessed this traumatic experience, my sister's been in this basement for 12 years being assaulted by the devil. And I saw the devil. On the first day, who does Mia have at her house? The documentary crew. That's crazy.
She's doing fine. My husband's, we decided to take a break. It's like...
Oh, and on that fateful night when she found her sister, Riley tried to kill the baby. So Mia knows that her sister wants to kill the baby. So now you have your sister in your house, sleeping in the bed with the baby in the bassinet across the way.
Yeah, we're in the same room. I don't know why.
And of course, as soon as the documentary crew people leave, what does Riley try to do? Kill the baby.
Well, with a pillow. It's like if you were really serious, you'd have bashed that baby's head again. You would have done what Sydney Sweeney does at the end of Immaculate.
But Mia's able to stop her, throws her out of the window.
Well, not on purpose. They scuffle.
They scuffle. Riley flies out the second story window, and then the hellhounds come and kill Riley.
And again, this incubus, the hellhounds aren't just waiting. The hellhounds, that baby would have been dead. But by the time those hellhounds got there into that house to chew up Riley. But you know what I love though is the final moments, that final scene where you see the incubus and he puts his big musty hand on Mia and her eyes light up from a glow within. That was giving me, and I kept trying to think of who Camille Sullivan was reminding me. And one of the women, it was here where it struck me, Dee Wallace. That's the very end of this film is much like Dee Wallace in The Howling when she turns into a werewolf on TV. It was totally giving me that, and I loved it for that. And then it also dawned on me that Camille Sullivan's reminding me of this actress. She used to be in a bunch of stuff in the 90s, particularly a Robert A. Heinlein adaptation I quite like called The Puppet Masters with Donald Sutherland. Her name is Julie Warner, but she looks a lot like that. Anyhow, I thought that where it brings us to before the credits, I don't know. I just wish that the rest of the details had equaled a moment like that.
There are a lot of good ideas.
I agree.
References that I wouldn't call cliche.
No.
You know, there are only so many ways to tell a story like this, so...
I suppose, but again, I think it could have been elevated more than it is. I mean, the story was developed alongside his wife, and then the YouTube stuff is a reference to some online marketing campaign. And again, I think it just kill your darlings. And also, you know, a note I've received about writing characters myself is figure out what are their needs and desires. What is the psychological template? And I think that Mia's is all over the place and doesn't make any sense. I think you could have made this woman seem a lot more intelligent and resourceful than she comes across, because there are too many times where I'm like, this lady seems real simple and like she wants to die right now. And then, you know, of course, Mike Flanagan, who's one of the executive producer, they were, and apparently has supplied some of his own connects, because the score was done by the Newton brothers and James Burkholder, who have done, and I like this score, who have done lots of Mike Flanagan scores. But I think it's funny, like, you just see Mike Flanagan as producer. This film, if you look, had so many producers and associate producers that were involved in getting this made. It's really difficult to get anything done. And I will say, you know what, as a first film, you know, we've kind of like picked apart a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, for a first film, there's a lot of, it gets a lot of quality marks as well.
What would you give Shelby Oaks?
That said, I'm giving it 2.5.
It's fine. I left the film not really caring for it, but I would give it 2.5 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.